Amazon EC2 auto scaling. It helps you ensure that you have the correct number of Amazon EC2 instances available to handle the load for your application. And you create collections of EC2 instances called auto scaling groups. So what does it mean? Is basically you can specify the minimum number of instances in each auto scaling group, and auto scaling ensures that your group never goes below this size. So what does it mean? Let's say like you're running one of your web servers or one of your applications, or maybe certainly one of your Hadoop frameworks that you have been running, and let's say up to 10 servers it is running fine from 1st of the month till 20th of the month. It runs pretty good. But the day 20th happens, let's say the user volumes or the transaction from the users is increased by twofold, and or maybe twofold, or maybe 20-30% you can imagine. And you need at least you got 10 instances or 10 EC2, you need 15 EC2 that time, you need 50% of more capacity. But sometimes if you keep pre-allocate 50, let's say you allocate 15 EC2 instances, and you may not be using that at all, and unnecessarily you're allocating a lot of instances. So that is also not good planning. So auto scaling gives you the opportunity. You can have 5, 10 or whatever the limited instances that suits your business requirement, and whenever there is a demand increases, or let's say whenever your CPU percentage goes to 90%, or there could be a lot of criteria you can set, you can go ahead and increase the number of instances. Oh, that is pretty cool. Like, automatically your instance will be up and running, allocate and do the stuff. And second thing, if your one of the instance gets terminated due to any reason, or maybe there can be panic happens and the server gets rebooted or terminates, so in that case you are losing your computing power. So in that case also, basically you can have auto scaling will make sure that you will have minimum number of 10 instances running at all the time. So those kind of conditions we can specify. We can specify the minimum number of instances, we can specify what is the maximum number of instances that it can go ahead and scale up to. Okay, so that is what kind of barriers and options we can specify. So EC2 auto scaling is one of the very good features. The benefits to this is basically the better fault tolerance. So one instance is unhealthy, so terminate it and launch an instance to replace it, so another new instance will come out. So better availability. So as I said, if it is unhealthy or one is terminated, you can just simply launch another instance. Of course, better cost management. You won't be paying for those additional instances throughout the month. You would be paying only for those EC2 compute capacity only when that is required. So of course it meets your variable demand, like in certain periods you want 10, certain periods you want 15, certain periods you want 20. So certainly we can go ahead. So if you look at this architecture, this says that the same thing. This is the minimum size. Okay, so I'm saying the minimum size has to be 1. My desired capacity is 2. So minimum has to be 1, irrespective. In worst case also I need 1 instance to be up running. Ideally you keep running 2 instances, so that is my desired. Okay, and maximum scale out as needed is 2 more instances. So if there is a condition, severity conditions with one of these instances, certainly another instance can be come up. And if you can specify some criteria like 90% of the CPU space, CPU is occupied, utilized for more than 5 minutes, you keep on allocating 1 more instance. If it is also the same condition with this, you keep on allocating another instance, and the maximum is 2 more is what I am looking to scale out. So this is basically the maximum size is basically 4 EC2 instances, minimum size is 1, desired capacity is 2, scale out size is 2. So this is what we are going to see in a lab. So EC2 instances we do understand. So we are just going to see this auto scaling lab, and we need to make sure that we do this lab honestly in our in your own self pace, and have any doubts, so make sure that we are going to cover it up. Lab, so I have just created this basically few sets of steps so that you don't get mistaken. Otherwise other labs I have been doing it directly and I have been recording them, but this I have chalked it down. So create an index.html and healthcheck.html file in a bucket, create an elastic load balancer, create a launch configuration group. Okay, now we will go back to the console. Okay, so we don't have any instances running at this moment, but yes, we do have a load balancer, you can see. Okay, so we have a load balancer we did created. we will see what is the status of this load balancer. So let's go to the instances. There are no instances. This is running in EU West 2C ABC. Okay, so this is my load balancer. Certainly I don't need to create a load balancer. That step we may need to skip, because but yes, what is there in the load balancer it has, that we are going to discuss. Okay, now go back to the console. Okay, now we are not going to launch this from this instances sections. We are going to launch it from the auto scaling section. So in auto scaling, basically you have two things. One is auto scaling groups and one is a launch configuration. So when you click on the launch configuration, you have to configure what options is available. For example, how many desired instances, what is the time, what is the load balancer setting. So launch configuration, you will keep all the configurations set up. Okay, so this is the minimum, this is the maximum, this is the desired capacity, these are my CPU conditions. So you specify all those configurations. Once this configuration is done, you can go ahead and create something called as a auto scaling group. So auto scaling group is nothing but the instances which you want, like this 4 or 5 or 10 or 15, the maximum number of instances you want, you have to basically group them into one. So that is where we call that group as an auto scaling group. So within that group, if you have 10 or 15 instances or EC2s, they can basically scale up and scale down. Okay, so let us first go ahead and start creating a launch configurations. So this is here, create auto scaling group. Okay, so see, even though I'm coming to launch configuration, say it says the two steps to do this. So create a launch configuration, then create auto scaling group. Okay, so let us go ahead. So define a template for auto scaling group. So that template is nothing but called as a create launch configurations. Okay, so what kind of OS I need? So I'm going for the default Amazon Linux AMI. What kind of systems you need? I'm going for T2 Micro. Okay, so initial launch configuration, give it as a name. So I'm saying my launch configuration, or I can say my Hadoop config. Okay, no request spot instances. Okay, I'm giving the role as EC2 admin access. So remember, I don't need to give that security keys and all that. I can directly do the stuff. Okay, now on advanced details. So this kernel ID, these things are used. I'll tell you later time, like what are these extra things. Okay, now we have this bootstrap configurations that we need to use. Better to use elastic, load balancer and auto scaling together. Yeah, I mean, I gotta go. Okay, so I'm going back. I'm gonna create some bootstrap scripts here. So we have some bootstrap scripts, and for the bootstrap scripts, I'm going to use the similar scripts that we have used last time. So I'm gonna copy paste that. I have kept it in one of the file. I'm pasting it here. So the bin bash update yum install httpd. Okay, so this service httpd start. Okay, now here I'm going to say AWS S3 CP S3 : bucket name. Okay, so the bucket name I can get it from the S3 console. I can go to this, I can go to London bucket, I can okay, so this is where I have created copied those healthcheck.html and index.html files over here. Okay, so anyways, this is my bucket name. I'm gonna copy this bucket name. So I'm copying the bucket name here, and I'm copying this all the files that is present in the bucket to the www/html folder, and I'm giving hyphen recursive, because since I'm copying the whole folder, if there is any folder inside also will also be taken care. So I'm removing all the unnecessary or unwanted files. So I'm just keeping only 2 HTML files in this bucket. Remaining all files I'm getting rid of it. Okay, so in this bucket I got only two files. So in my bash script, what I'm giving is basically you install the HTTP services, start HTTP service, copy basically your bucket to your HTML location in a recursive manner. Then start your HTTP server. Make sure your HTTP server stays on always. Okay, so this is what we have. Now this is what I'm gonna put it. Okay, now I'm saying add to storage. Go ahead. How much storage you want on each instances? Certainly, if you want, you can give more. I'm clicking on next. Okay, so create a new security group or existing security group. I'm gonna use the existing security group, that is my DMZ. Okay, fine. So this is the launch configuration group. Okay, it says that my Hadoop configuration, your DMZ is open to world, your SSH is open, that is fine. Purchasing options on demand, storages we got, security groups we got. Okay, it's fine. So this is the launch configuration group. I am gonna create it. Create it. Okay, now it is automatically asking, immediately key auto scaling group. Okay, so my group 1, I'm saying my Hadoop group 1. Okay, group size. So what is the group size? I mean, the number of instances the group should have at any time, also called desired capacity. So you remember the slide or the picture? Yeah, I'll say I need minimum 3 running at all the times basically. Okay, so network, so we can talk about the VPC on the coming weekend. We are going to talk about the subnet. Now you can see here I got in EU London, EU West 2B, EU West 2C, EU West 2A. So I can choose whether all these 3 instances can run only in one subnet, or else I can also specify, no, since I got 3 availability zones, so let me use 3 different subnets also. So what will happen? One instance will be running here, one instance will be running here, one instance will be running here using this subnet. Okay, if you will have 4 instances, so certainly 2 instances would be running in one of this availability zone subnets. Okay, so that is more of a scalability option. It is good. Okay. Okay, receive traffic, load balancing, receive traffic from one or more. The classic load balancer attached to the auto scaling group basically does takes benefit of this. You can say receive traffic from one or more load balancer, or you can leave it as it is. Health check grace period. The length of the time auto scaling waits before checking an instance health status. The grace period begins when an instance comes into service. If no value is provided, default is 5 minutes. So 300 seconds, that comes about 5 minutes. So what it is saying is the length of the time autoscaling waits before checking an instance health status. So see, elastic load balancer does a health check. That is a different thing. Now this is what autoscaling will identify itself. It will wait for how long, then decide that the health check is proper or not. So I'm just gonna keep it to 150. Why? Because if I'll keep it to 150, so if you remember the bash script which I've given, start the HTTP services, copy from AWS, it would take roughly about 1 minute. So I've given about 2.5 minutes. So by that time my health check page will respond. Now my load balancer will say yes, it is responding. So within the grace period it is going to be responded. Okay, so any other things I am leaving as a default value. We will see first how this scaling group works out. Okay, keep this group at its initial size, or you can also specify the group. So scale between, I can say scale between 1 minimum and maximum 5. So it can scale up to 5 or 6 instances. So there will be minimum and maximum size of your group. So if you look at that architecture that we have discussed, basically I'll show you that one just a moment. Let me go back to the presenter. So here you can see this is the minimum size. So here 1 is the minimum size, 4 is the maximum size, 2 is the desired size. So we have already given 3 as a desired size. Now he is asking for the minimum size and the maximum size. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna give him. So take it 1 and 5. Okay, the scale group size. Average CPU utilization, network in and out bytes, request count. So I can also say request count is coming more than 1 million, then change it. Request count comes more than 1000, change, or scale it. So I can give an average CPU utilization as well. So target value I am saying 90%. Okay, instances need 300 seconds. Let me keep it 300. Okay, so what it says, if your CPU utilization, that is the metric, if the value rises beyond 90% and if it lasts for 300 seconds, then only it will warm up the scaling. So 300 seconds it is going to take warm up. So basically it is going to wait on standby. Then if it is continues to stay 90% CPU for 300 seconds, it will warm up your next instance. Okay, so this is how we can specify it. Let us click on the next configuration. So we provided okay, we can simply click on send a notification. Okay, so manually enter a topic name, or you can say with these recipients. So we can say okay, we can say scaling status change. I can give it to samya.padhi at datanza.com. Add notification. So this is the second one, so I'm just keeping on this one. So it will just send an email for whenever there is a lunch terminate, those things happens basically. Okay, I'm clicking on EMPL ID. Okay, tag new instances, review. So 315, 150. So these are the values. Okay, so create auto scaling group. Now watch this closely. Now we are going to have 3 instances coming up. Oh, what has happened? Invalid parameter, something is there, creating notifications. Okay, back to review screen. Okay, lunch terminate. It is having some issues with the edit notifications. It shouldn't be a problem, but let me try deleting this notification. Then we will see. Review, create auto scaling group. See, I came to EC2 management console. You can see it has started running 3 instances. Okay, so 3 instances are running. It is initializing. Okay, now I will go to the load balancers. Okay, this is my load balancer. I don't have any instances to it, so I'm going to say click on edit instances. I'm going to click all of 3 and I am going to say save. Okay, so it is now doing an instance is in pending state. It is gonna do. Okay, so this is gonna look for this HTML file in the instances. So remember, we have given a bootstrap script on that 3 instances. If that works well, then we should have this thing, coming as an in service basically. So if they would be able to, so see, all these 3 are showing as in service. Oh, that's good basically. Okay, so this is some issue with the UI, so that is continuously going up and running, but yes, my configuration is here up and ready. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm opening this instances into another browser. I'm closing this, closing this, closing this, closing this. Okay, so this is my load balancer section. I'm gonna keep it here. This is my instances section. Okay, these are my 3 running instances. You can see 2A, 2B and 2C. Okay, now for 2C, I'm gonna keep on this. Control C. I'm going to open another browser. I'm going to hit enter. I should be able to see the index.html. Yeah, it is working. I'm going to the other IP address. Okay, I'm opening another tab. I'm keeping here enter. So yeah, that is true working. I'm going to the third instance, third server, click another one. Okay, so this is also working. So all this three is working. Now let me go ahead and check the load balancer IP or DNS name. Let me see if that works or not. Okay, so that is working. Okay. Okay, so load balancer and all the three independent servers are working fine. Now we have set a condition for auto scaling is basically, if one of the instances reaches 90%, then only it is going to be auto scale up. I'm sorry. So the auto scale is going to happen in that condition. So I'm not gonna make it 90%, but certainly what I can do is let me try terminating couple of instances and see what happens basically. Okay, so we have three instances. We have, this is the load balancer. We have the instances. The health check says it is in service. I'm going to click on 2B and 2A. So let me click on one of it. Two are there. I'm clicking on access instance terminate. Yes, terminate this two. Okay, now these two are terminating. Okay, that IP is 249 and 44. I'm saying 249. Is it coming? Is it coming? It shouldn't come ideally. So now it is coming. It is spinning. It is going. Now I'm going for the other one. Control F5. It is also spinning. I'm doing 130, 13. I'm doing Control F5. See, it is coming. So one node is up and running, and from load balancer also it should come. So load balancer is basically rerouting to .13, but it is unable to reroute it to .249 or the other IP. Let me get the other IP, that is 44. So 44 is not working, should not be working. Hey, what is this IP? Why I am unable to copy? Okay, so it will not change because it is anyways getting timed out. So both of these nodes are getting timed out, and one node is active. Load balancer is also redirecting to that. So if you come here and you do a refresh on the load balancers, it clearly shows that only one of the instances is active. So load balancer is basically rerouting all the traffic through this one only. Okay, so these two are still spinning, they are not working. This two is working. Now see what is the behavior it is going to happen here. So it's gonna take up some time. We'll see the observation how does this works. Okay, so indeed it took some time, but yes, now finally it is coming. So in 2A, 2B, 2C. So 2C was only alone available. Okay, now we got the other two as well. Okay, now we'll have to edit instances. So there is a workaround we can do so that it can come and register the with the load balancer. That certainly we can do, and that we will see next while doing a lab. Now for now let me try to see if it comes up healthy or not. Refresh. One is coming in service. I'll wait for the other one to come up. Okay, this one came up. No, IP will be different. There is option we can fix specify elastic IPs. Okay, so elastic IPs we haven't discussed yet. So next session we will discuss. But yes, while creating that auto scaling group, there is option that is where it asks whether you want to specify a fixed IP. So if you have a fixed IP, your elastic load balancer is, you don't need to add it. If you have if since your IP is changing, so there is a way workaround we have to do. So that workaround we will see later. I will show you. No, in this practical we were doing only one manual thing. So we just edited the instance and added to load balancer. So that is what we did manually, but that is also not required ideally, since we have the load balancer created earlier, and so all the reasons. Okay. Sorry. Huh. For single instance you are saying? Uh-huh. Right. Right. Now I will tell you one thing. There is a small confusion here. If you talk about a rack instance, okay, let us talk about an Oracle rack instance. So in Oracle rack instance, you will create two individual EC2 instances and you put them on rack. Okay. So when you put them on rack, so Oracle rack will internally manage if this instance is not available, the resources will go to second instance. He will not take care of the instance of the server. He will take care of the Oracle resources, and that should be available on the second instance. Okay. Now to counterpolate your question, if I'll come back to this thing,